I'll do that this evening.
Sorry, what was that?
I'll do it this evening.
Yeah.
I'll do it this evening. Okay, cool.
Thanks, Patience. All right, let's begin. I'm going to record the session because the Saturday group are beating you in terms of the. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just repeating the class today that I taught on Saturday, and we're going to start with our meditation as we normally do. This practice you can do every single day. Okay, every single day you can do this practice until you become a Buddha. No problem. All right. It's a beautiful practice on many, 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 many levels. Choosing that comfortable seat. Make sure you feel grounded. Breathing in a beautiful deep breath through the nostrils. And slowly exhaling it out the nose. Another deep breath in through the nose. And slowly exhaling it out the nostrils. Another deep breath in through the nose. Opening the mouth and then gently sigh the breath out. So now we invite into our space an enlightened being, whoever that is for you, an angel, a dakini, a deva, it could be a god, a goddess, could be a religious icon, a deity, whoever you resonate with, that you feel is an enlightened being, and that we imagine that they arrive and they're glowing and they're happy to see you, and there they are right in front of you. Can you imagine what they look like? And as we visualize such a holy being, it increases our powers of focus and our ability to stay present as we build up their image. And it's always good to start with the eyes. So we start by making a prostration to them. If you were in Tibet, you would be making 3 full prostrations. But in our mind, we bow and we honor them and admire their qualities. And as we admire their qualities, we think, well, this is not an act of worship. Perhaps it's an act of adoration or devotion. But really, it's just an act of recognizing the qualities that we would like to embody within ourselves. And I'll sing the refuge prayer 3 times. Sangye chodang suki chognam la jancho badu dagni kyapsu chi dagi jinso gipe sonam ki rola penche sangye drupa sho sangye chodang suki chognam la jancho badu dagni kyapsu chi dagi jinso gipe sonam ki rola penche sangye drupa sho sangye chodang suki chognam la jancho badu dagni kyapsu chi dagi jinso gipe sonam ki rola penche sangye drupa sho. And then when we invite a beautiful guest into our space, it's normally customary to make them a beautiful offering. And often we make someone a cup of tea or offer them a cookie. But here there are no limits to your offering. We can think of Samantabhadra's offering, which is a sky full of flowers. We can think of offering the most precious thing that we have or own. We can offer them our practice, our meditation practice, our good karma for being here. And as we imagine what kind of offering we can make to this holy angel in front of us, I'm going to sing the mandala offering, where we imagine a perfect world of no suffering, where everybody is happy and they're doing well. And imagine a world with no violence or anger or hatred or aging, sickness, death or crime. And as you imagine this, I will sing the mandala prayer. Saji Bogi Junshin Metotran Rira Blinjin Inde Gempari Sangye Shindu Mikte Uwagi Roko Namdak Shinla Jupashu Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamiliatayami. Perhaps we have incurred some negative energy in the last couple of days. Energy that we would like to get rid of, that's in the shape of obstacles, illness, mental instability or anxiety. And we open up to clarity. Maybe there's some action that we're not proud of, that hurts ourselves or hurts others, thought, words. We'd like to remove that stain from our mind stream. And the Buddha said we can do this in 4 ways. First, we feel regret for whatever negative energy is following us around, karma, negative karma. We think, maybe I opened the door to that negative energy and I want to get rid of it. So we feel a sense of regret. What was that? What is that negative energy? What is that vibe that's causing you upset or feeling down, or your health is suffering? And then the next step is to refuse to perpetuate that negativity in our lives. And we can take a vow for a day or 2 days or a week, or we might decide we never want to perpetuate this again, ever again, if you're feeling brave tonight. So in the form of a vow or a pledge. And then we take refuge, which means that we trust in the process of karma. We believe in cause and effect, and or we believe in a higher power that can help us through this process. We surrender as part of this purification. And you can imagine your deity placing their hand on your heart and purifying your body and your mind as you do this. And to end this purification, we think of a remedy, something we can do to fix or heal, to open up to light and to goodness, and to get out of the cycle or the habitual cycle of causing ourselves and others pain. The next step is rejoicing, celebrating your goodness and your good energy, your good qualities, your beneficial thoughts, your mind of wonderful ripenings and abundance. And we share the good news with our chosen light being that's with us today. I feel great because I did this and this in the last week. I feel great because some goodness happened. I feel great because there's people around me that are so wonderful and they're doing good things. There's so much to be grateful for and appreciative for. And when we do this, we replant good karma again. So if you gave somebody something, when we think of it, we replant it. We energize, we grow that karma even more. And that's a secret to manifestation. What have you been up to that brings you joy and brings others joy? It might just be a cup of tea or a smile or a compliment or a donation. Or perhaps you protected someone from harm or fear. A few kind words perhaps of encouragement, of help. That's why it's important to do this practice daily, to purify and to grow. Then the next step is asking our holy being to please stay with us in our lives, to be present with us wherever we go, to teach us through places, through people. Sometimes we can even just watch the curve of a wave and we can realize so much. And that wave might be an enlightened being themselves. There are many shapes and forms of holy beings, not just human. And we ask them, please, to teach us, to continue to teach us until we attain enlightenment and our final destination, along with our holy being. As we do so, they shrink in size to the size of your thumb. They fly to the top of your head. They sit on your crown. They face the same way as you do. They are sitting on a beautiful lotus flower. They are radiant with rainbow lights exuding from their body in an aura of magnetic electricity. And slowly they descend into your crown and sink down through your skull, making their way through your inner channel, the Sushumna Nadi, going past your throat. And as they enter down into your heart chakra, you have prepared a beautiful home for them there, a lovely sanctuary for them to relax. And they sit there in your heart, radiating light out, purifying your body and your mind and preparing you for these teachings tonight. Taking in another beautiful deep inhalation through the nostrils and sigh that breath out. Gently opening your eyes. And there you've done a meditation for today. Isn't that nice? If you haven't done your meditation practice, well, that's okay. We've just done it. And it's no good just doing it once a week. Zig Ziglar said that imagine if you just had a bath once a week, okay? Like you clean yourself once a week, but it's not good enough, right? We have to do it every day. And it's the same with meditation practice. In order for these teachings to take root in your life and in your mind, whether you are gravitating towards Buddhism or whether you just want to change your mind through mindfulness, rewire your negative conditioning, well, it has to be done regularly. Like brushing your teeth, you got to do it every day, okay? So the last class we started our discussion on emptiness. Does anybody remember what emptiness is, or an example of emptiness? Hi, Belinda, welcome back. It's nice to see you. You went on one amazing trip by the looks of it. I've been following you on Facebook. Amazing.
Hi, Mark. Yes, it was amazing. Thank you.
Fantastic. I rejoice in your good karma for being able to have those experiences. Ah, wonderful. Emptiness. What is emptiness, people? What is an example of emptiness? What is the favorite example I use of emptiness? What is the object that I use? Does anybody remember? The pen. Yes, Kerry. The pen. What about the pen? Okay, very simple example. Thanks, Kerry. Very simple example. The pen is a pen to a human. It's a chew toy to a dog. It's a hair tie to an Eskimo lady. It might be a magic wand to a Deva being. Who knows? Okay, the pen. Here's another example, perhaps a little bit more abstract. I picked this little flower along the way to class. Do you think it's beautiful?
Beautiful, it is. Now,
And now
still beautiful.
it's still beautiful. And now
It's still beautiful.
and now would you
Still
give this
beautiful.
would you give this to your beloved and say, Happy Valentine's Day, I got you this flower?
Unlikely.
Unlikely, not as beautiful as it was. How about this?
I'd be offended.
You'd be offended. No longer beautiful. So where is the beauty in the flower? For those of you that may have done the teacher training, you might remember this example, but it's a great emptiness example. Where's the beauty in the flower? And at
The
what
sum of the parts.
sum of the parts? Okay, Anne, if it's the sum of the parts, here
Well,
it is.
but I mean the construct of those parts in a defined way.
But the parts, the construct in a configuration, right?
Hmm.
But is that configuration beautiful from its own side?
No.
No. So what makes the flower beautiful?
So the person who's observing.
Correct. What a good Buddhist you are, Anne.
Oh.
It's the person that's observing. So there's different schools of Buddhism, and I think tonight we can easily agree. There's one school of Buddhism that says there's some sort of flowerness that's appearing from its own side, saying, look at me, I'm beautiful. And then we look at it and we say, oh, beautiful. And then we make it beautiful. The higher schools of Buddhism say, well, no, not really. There's no flowerness. There's no beauty in that flower. I know that dogs eat flowers, right? I don't know, do wolves eat flowers? They do, okay. When a wolf looks at a flower, do they think it's beautiful? Do they go, oh?
They just taste everything.
Yeah, maybe it's food, you know. Maybe a flower just tastes interesting. It's not really pretty. Like a wolf would never consider giving another wolf a flower as a form of, romance or something. A bee, how does a bee feel when it looks at a flower? Does it think, oh, beautiful, so romantic, so nice, so pretty? I don't know. I don't know what bees think. It's just it's good to kind of put yourself in that headspace, right? Okay, in the eye of the beholder, sometimes in the eye of the beer holder. Oh yeah, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So then where is reality coming from? If we see beauty and ugliness and all these things around us, it's got to be coming from us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember the tree example we used last week? If a tree falls over in the forest, does it make a sound if there's no one around? And we came to the conclusion that it doesn't. It can't. Because the tree needs something to hear it fall over. It needs ears. It needs a set of ears to pick up the vibration as the tree falls over. If there's no living being around, then there's no sound. Then the tree don't make a sound. Like a tree on the moon. If it was just a tree on the moon and the tree fell over and no one there to hear it. So does it make a sound? No one there to see it. Did it even fall over? Okay. So yeah, interesting ideas. And in Buddhism, the masters, the master teachers are trying to constantly push our boundaries in trying to wake us up to the idea that we are stuck in a construct. And because we're stuck in a construct, our world becomes very solidified, but only solidified in our mind. Okay. For example, the Nanhua Temple, I'm sure some of us have been there. I was on retreat at Emoyeni. Anne, have you been to Emoyeni?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a lovely spot. Been there a couple of times. And I was with Mervyn Croft. We were hanging out. I think it was around lunchtime. And then this bucky came up the road, on the dirt, dusty road. And we looked at this, and we recognized that there were two Taiwanese people in robes. And they just popped in to say hi. They were from Nanhua. And out climbs the meditation master, very high up, very renowned master of meditation, Taiwanese monk, and his assistant, who was his translator. So we go and meet this monk, and Mervyn says, "Hello, I believe you are the meditation master of Nanhua Temple." And then the translation happens, and the translator says, blah, 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 and translates for the monk. And he says, yes, he is the meditation master at Nanhua, but he says he's not really the meditation master at Nanhua. So we're like, what? He says, yeah, he says that, there's no meditation master. There's no such thing. It's a construct. That there's no monk even. There's no man, there's no arm, there's no eye, there's no nose, okay? And went into this whole discourse on the Heart Sutra, which is the most profound teaching of the Buddha. So, it's just an unusual way to say hi, which these masters do. They just try to flip you on your head all the time when it comes to your conceptual reality. Are there any comments or questions around this right now, around emptiness? Okay. So I'll give you a little story about my teacher. All good. Okay. I'll give you a little story about my teacher. My teacher is American. He started an organization called the Asian Classics Institute, and that organization has grown exponentially over the years. And the amazing thing about this particular person, his name is Geshe Michael Roach. He came into contact with Buddhism at a young age. Went to see the Dalai Lama in the 1970s. And in those days, there was no one like wanting to see the Dalai Lama. Like no one knew who the Dalai Lama was really. So you were like this hippie traveling in India, and you could just kind of walk in and go, "Hi, Dalai Lama." There was no issue. There was no formal booking that you needed to make. And the Dalai Lama was always very accommodating. I don't know, for some reason my computer doesn't want to charge. The Dalai Lama was always extremely accommodating, right? And Geshe Michael at that stage, Michael Roach, he said to the Dalai Lama, "I want to become a monk, a Buddhist monk. And I want to live," look at that beautiful, is that the beautiful wolf? My word. Eh? So,
This is Akita. She's the princess.
oh my word. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. Wow. Makes me want to get a plot and get some wolves. So the Dalai Lama sent Michael away from India and said, "I want you to go back to America. There's a monk there called Ken Rinpoche. He's a master, a Tibetan master. I want you to live with him. I want you to devote yourself to him, and you will be his student, and you will take ordination and become a monk." And he did. And the amazing thing is, throughout Michael Roach's journey, he studied, he traveled backwards and forwards to northern India, and he became fluent in Tibetan, and he studied the Geshe degree, which is 20 years of study to obtain the title Master of Buddhist Philosophy, which is the Geshe degree. They call you Geshe, like it's a professor, okay? And while he was living with his master in New Jersey, his teacher Ken Rinpoche said to him, now, I want you to go to New York and I want you to get a job whatever job. I want you to apply the teachings of karma and emptiness to your work life. And Geshe Michael was, no, I don't want to work. I hate work. I hate the corporate life. I just want to be a monk. I want to meditate all day. I want to study the Dharma. I don't want to go and work in New York. And his teacher said, well, you got no choice. That's what I'm telling you to do. So he would dress up in a suit. He started working in a diamond business with an Israeli guy, just the two of them. They rented a desk in an office. And within a very short space of time, the business started to flourish. And they started to employ hundreds of people until it became one of the biggest diamond organizations in the world, called Anden Enterprises. And if you want to read the book and the story of how that happened, there's a bestseller by Geshe Michael Roach called The Diamond Cutter. And it's all about how to bring Buddhism into your business and into your life. Okay, it's a beautiful book. So after 14 years of being an undercover Tibetan monk, American Tibetan monk, Geshe Michael eventually decided to leave the business and go into a 3-year isolated retreat in the desert. And told everybody, this was just a Buddhist experiment, by the way. Yes, I made millions. I'm a rich and wealthy man. And then he devoted all of his money to start what's called the Asian Classics Input Project, the ACIP, where they hire thousands of Tibetans to scan ancient documents and record them, save them from destruction, and then translate them into English. So that's what they're doing. And that's where I get all this knowledge from. All these ancient texts that are being eaten by termites and whatever, being saved, recorded, and translated. Some are 1,000 years old, maybe older. What a wonderful project that is. But as Geshe Michael was studying as a young monk, he had what is called the direct perception of emptiness. Does anybody know what the direct perception of emptiness is? We've been talking about emptiness. Does anybody know what the direct perception of emptiness is?
Is it where you perceive it on yourself, where you become the viewer?
Yeah, I like that answer. I think it's appropriate, but it's just a part of it. So this is what happened to him. After years and years of understanding logically that nothing is real, that everything is a projection, okay? He was looking at a pot on the stove, and he was making tea for his teacher. And then he started to see that there is no pot on the stove. He started to observe what is called dependent origination. And we're going to unpack that when we get to the Wheel of Life teachings. He started to see that the parts of the pot, that's all, the handle, the silver, the rim, and he couldn't see pots. He just saw parts of the pot. And he realized firsthand that what he was doing is he was making pot. Jeez, imagine that. He was making pot, a label, okay? The pot doesn't exist. He was projecting pot onto the pots. And then having that direct experience He then went into the temple, sat down in meditation, and all of a sudden, as Belinda said, there was no self. There was no Geshe Michael. In fact, in that experience, which they say lasts around 20 minutes in the scripture, you literally dissolve into emptiness. Now, it's not like you die. You know, it's not like Star Wars where Obi-Wan just disappears into the ether. You know, it's that you have no concept of an I or I. You cannot say I am having the direct perception of emptiness. Okay, that's not possible. And in that space, you see Buddhas, you see in angels, enlightened beings. And Geshe Michael said that in that moment, he was able to look into the face of every single living being that exists on every single planet, in every single universe and realm, all at the same time. And he knew that he would serve countless beings going forward. Then when you come out of that experience, it's like the most hectic acid trip you can imagine, right? Anybody that's taken LSD, wow, that shit is something else. But this is like the pith trip, spiritual trip. Okay, this is what every Buddhist aims for, is to have this mystical experience. Because when you have that experience of seeing emptiness directly, you are on the conveyor belt to enlightenment. Okay, so you become what is called an arahant, okay, an Arya being, an arahant. So a stream enterer, that is the English translation. It's called stream enterer, which means that you are now in the stream. It's a strong river, and that stream is taking you directly to Buddhahood, and there's no turning back. And traditionally, you will have 7 lives from that moment of direct perception until full Buddhahood. So the rest of your lives, you will always be born into a wonderful family that's supportive, that's nurturing, and that will introduce you to the teachings. And maybe you'll be a monastic, maybe you won't, but everything in your future lives will be conducive to you having those experiences again and again until all your karmas are burnt up, another 7 lives of burning up human karma, until boom, you become fully enlightened. Not too many Buddhists understand or know this, because it's a very deep part of the Madhyamika Prasangika teachings, you know. And generally a direct perception of emptiness is slightly different in the different schools, because they would experience it differently as well. And it's said that the highest experience of this is having what is called bodhicitta in your heart, is having compassion in your heart as you go into this experience. Okay, that's the highest experience, that you will serve all beings as you go into this experience. So Geshe Michael's very open about what happened, and he came under heavy criticism for talking about it, because a lot of masters have this experience and they keep quiet. But he thought that because the American audience is sensational, it would attract more people to Buddhism. Not that he's on an ego trip by any means, okay? And I've met Geshe Michael firsthand. I've followed him for 20 years. There's nothing about him that is grasping after ego and fame and money. In fact, last year, his organization paid for me and my wife and my son to go to America for 2 weeks, all expenses paid, didn't have to do anything, just to meet them. I mean, I've never donated large sums of money, and they paid for everything, accommodation, everything, flights. So, You know, when you hook up with a lineage like that, then you know, wow, these people are really walking the talk. You know, they really are exceptional. So a lot of the students within the system, they will do long retreats, 3-year retreats. And in those retreats, what they are trying to do is create the condition for the direct perception of emptiness to happen. And when you come out of that experience, and you will have that experience in maybe this life, maybe next life, maybe 1,000 years from now, but you will have that experience, okay? Because your karma to be in this class is very close. Your karma to hear this story is very close to having that experience, okay? Does that make sense? Any questions or comments about this now, guys? Are you there?
I was wondering one thing, and if you're allowed to answer it, like, have you had the direct perception of emptiness?
Not in this life, Renee, not in this life. And a lot of people, so I've taken lots of LSD in the past. I've taken mushrooms. I've taken all sorts of mind-altering drugs. And I always thought that I had this experience through psychedelics. And it wasn't, okay? Some people bump their head in the shower and they go, I think I've had the experience. You don't think you've had the experience, you know you've had the experience. My teacher often laughs because people come to him and they ask him, I think I had this experience of the direct perception. He said, if you think you've had it, you didn't have it. You would know. You would know 100% if you had it. I have not had it. All right?
You must be close, though.
I'm going to let you in on a little something. I think I'm close because I'm starting to see how everything fits together in a very clear pattern. I still have the old program of anger, desire, affliction. I've still got these programs of these karmic programs running. You could, like a computer, right? But as I'm starting to put the antivirus into place, which is the Dharma, those programs are no longer valid. I know they're running and I know they affect me, but I'm starting to see the interdependence. I'm starting to see that dependent origination, and I'm starting to feel sort of a divine plan at play, if I can say that. If that answers your question. And
yeah, no, that's great. Lots to think about. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah. So if we plant the right seeds karmically, then we will naturally have these experiences. Then you will naturally see Buddhas. Then you will see angels. You will see even people as holy beings. The name of the book is The Diamond Cutter by Geshe Michael Roach. It's funny, he says you mustn't kill roaches because his surname is Roach. So he always says you mustn't kill roaches. It's a brilliant book. If you're a business person and you want to make a lot of money and you want to be happy and you want abundance, then this is the book for you. And it's a true story. So it's a great story. So it's a wonderful lineage. When you come out of that direct perception of emptiness, for about a day or two, you can read other people's minds. Okay, you know what they're thinking. I mean, that's also very traditional in the scriptures. But Geshe Michael confirms it. He says, you know what other people are thinking. And then what happens is you start to experience your old programs all over again. So you go back into, feeling irritable, angry, hungry. You go back into your old programming, but you know that it's a deceptive reality. You know that you're in the Matrix, like Neo, in the Matrix. You know that it's a holographic simulation, and it's not that it's being created by robots or like alien beings or anything like that. It's your holographic illusion that you are creating. Okay? Does that make sense? It's what's called the piercing of the veil of illusion. And you see absolute divinity, and it's you cannot describe it. I mean, it's undescribable. Satchitanand, bliss, clarity, expansiveness. And it's beyond all pain and suffering. It's the mind of the Buddha. It's the Dharmakaya. Can you imagine like just experiencing what it feels like to be a Buddha for 20 minutes? And knowing that you will be a Buddha in the next 7 lifetimes. Now, 7 lifetimes is nothing compared to the countless lives that we've lived. 7 lifetimes is like nothing, okay? And if you are hearing this, you are very close to having that experience. I'll give you an example. Lately, all of a sudden, in my reality, I've discovered dragon fruit. Has anyone heard of dragon fruit? And Sharon fruit. Now, a month ago, I didn't know that these fruits ever existed. Like, someone said, have you ever had dragon fruits? I was like, what the hell is dragon fruits? I'm 50 years old. I've never heard of this. And then they said, and Sharon fruits? I was like, never. And then now I'm like addicted to dragon fruit. Like I've got to have dragon fruit every night, I love it. But for me, my karma was keeping me blind to dragon fruit. Now all of a sudden my karma shifts and boom, there's dragon fruit. It's a simple example, but I did not have the karma to experience dragon fruit until now. Okay? Maybe one day, you'll read the newspaper and it says they found a cure for death. No, whoopee. That's your karma. Maybe there are people around us that read the newspaper. We didn't get the newspaper. We didn't see that newspaper. We're still in another program. And metaphysics and what's the other name for it? Science. Spooky science. What do they call it? Metaphysics is aligned with Buddhism. They talk about different realms where you exist in many different shapes and forms at the same time. Quantum physics, that's the other word for it. Quantum physics, right? And it's mind-blowing. And people nobody understands quantum physics. Quantum physics says that if you look at something, it changes from being a particle to a wave. And if you stop looking at it, it goes back to being particle. And if you look at it, it turns into a wave. So the nature of the very thing you're looking at changes because of observation, right? I mean, sometimes I look around really fast like this, because maybe I'll just catch the void before my projection starts to make this real. And my teacher says that when we walk into a room, it's not that the room is coming at us. It's that the room is coming out of us. We are projecting the room and everything in it. And it's not like, and that's why the tree example is so good, because you think there are trees that fall over and make noise. They aren't, okay? I just want to answer Kerry's question. Does the direct perception of emptiness then confirm the existence of God? So that question the Buddha would not answer. I can't answer that. People said to the Buddha, does God exist? And he kept quiet. Why do you think the Buddha would keep quiet? It's such a question. Buddhists don't believe in God. They don't believe that there's a creator being that made everything. Okay, they don't believe in that. They believe in the Buddha mind, the enlightened mind, but they do not believe in an omnipresent, omnipotent creator. Because if there was such a being, then why would they make people suffer? Then why would they test us, as I was told in my Catholic religion? God's testing you. Well, he sounds like a sick bastard. You know, if I took my son into the middle of Hillbrow and I gave him 50 Rand and I said, this is a test, find your way back home, good luck. You know what? The cops would knock on my door. They would arrest me and throw me into jail for being a shit father. But yet we pray to an almighty God that's doing the same thing to us. Doesn't make sense according to Buddhism. A loving father would not do this to his children, would not give you cancer, would not, have mass shootings at Uvalde, Texas from, blowing up kids at school. Loving God would not do that if they had the power to stop that from happening. Okay. Belinda, you wanted to say something? Oh, levitation? Yeah, so if this body is a projection, if our life is a projection, now the Tibetan yogis encourage us to practice what is called dream yoga. Kerry, I hope that answers your question, or did that concern you?
Yeah, it's what I keep reading. Yeah,
what you keep reading?
I'll keep thinking about it. Yeah, I struggle with the whole like relational aspect of good can't exist without evil, and like perhaps there is wisdom in it. It's a very long, convoluted thought process, and thinking. Okay,
Yeah.
so thanks. I'll keep trying not to think.
Look, I really battled with this as a Catholic moving into Buddhism, because the two are very different. Now you got to believe, if you want reality to work for you, you've got to ask God to do it for you. Remember, that's worldview number 2. Lord, buy me a Mercedes-Benz. Okay? That's worldview number 2. Worldview number 3 is what Jesus said. You are sowing the seeds. You are reaping the karma. The seeds you sow, you reap. Not God's giving it to you. You're doing it. Jesus said it. So this idea, you can believe in God, right? No problem. And if you go to church and you ask every Christian, what is your idea of God? You will hear 500 different versions of what they believe to be God. And that proves emptiness.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't believe in a God that's separate to its creation. I was just interested in the difference between Advaita Vedanta and Buddhism.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the Hindus, they believe in a self, they believe in a God, but then they come along and they say, well, you are Shiva, you are Shakti, you are Parvati, so I like that. They say, yes, there is a God, but you're the God. So it's kind of like this, they bring you in, they make you worship something, and then they say, but that's you. That's the real self. Okay, there's this thing in Buddhism, Anatman, there's no self. Hindus will say there's Atman. So they argue, Atman is real. And the Buddhists go, it can't be real, there's no self. And at the end of the day, I think they're arguing about the same thing. They're talking about the divine self. And that's what we're talking about as well. Does levitation form part of the experience? So dream yoga is something that is taught in the tantric schools, which means that as we go to sleep, we make the intention to wake up in our dream. And they say that this is a very powerful thing to do, because as a child, I used to dream I was flying, levitating. Okay, I would dream that. It was cool, the best dream ever. I did not know the difference between my dream and reality. A dream is a different kind of karmic manifestation. It's a different kind of projection. It is real. It's just a different karma. It's a different bardo. Okay? You got bardo of dreaming. You got bardo of living. You got bardo of dying. You've got bardo of birth. You've got different bardos, but they're all real. So when you sleep at night, you move into the bardo of dreaming, very subtle consciousness. And it's real. Okay? Your karma is still projecting that bardo. It's not random. Your karma is making it. So if you can fly in your dream, if you wake up in your dream and go, hang on a minute, I'm dreaming. I'm dreaming, which means I can fly if I want to. Because in the dream state, you can do anything, right? Now the yogis say, are you sure you're not dreaming right now? So they say that the human experience, this waking experience, very gross, not very dreamlike. But they say, not far off from dreamlike. Milarepa, many Tibetan yogis were seen flying through the sky. No problem. Oh boy, I don't know. I think we've gone a bit too far tonight. Maybe next week only half of you will be here. But anyway, Harry Potter stuff, right? What is real? Oh, I can't fly. I can't perform miracles. I can't see angels. Well, that's just a concept. And if you change your karma, anything's possible. You know, think about stigmata from Christians. They get holes in their hands and their feet from meditating on Jesus. You know, how does that happen? Well, it's holographic because their mind is so one pointed on the passion of Christ. They become the passion of Christ. Any other questions or comments before we end on that very strange note? Yes, of course, Belinda.
So I studied engineering,
Mm-hmm.
and today I'm a psychic medium. So I love to combine the two. So quantum physics was my favorite subject at university.
Wonderful.
So quantum physics states, like you say, that we move between realities. So I believe that when I give people messages from their angels and loved ones, I take a peek into different realities and bring that into this reality. So, but an interesting thing that happened recently is that now quantum physics say now that even the atom doesn't exist.
No.
The atom is like a cloud, and the electron only exists when somebody views it. And every time you view it, it's in a different space. So the molecules keep changing. So we are actually going into a whole new way of thinking in science.
Yeah.
About this whole, does anything exist?
Well, that's it. I mean, in Buddhism, they say, the Buddha said, well, you can take the smallest particle, the atom, and that can still be broken down. And even that can be broken down into smaller particles. I think they talk about quarks now. So can you imagine just everything is just quarks? Can you imagine everything's just quarks? There's no wall, there's no you, it's just quarks. And those quarks can be broken down further. That's kind of weird, man.
And I just wanted to say, in addition to what Belinda was saying, it's kind of, yes, we can, I mean, what's interesting is that we can intellectualize emptiness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can look out at the universe and know that, you know, everything around us was, you know, thought up, made up, like our world is an odd place that we take to be very concrete, but actually, you know, fleeting, and absolutely we're potentially in a matrix. How do we know we're not dreaming? And it's kind of, so intellectually you can conceive of emptiness, but yeah, to feel it.
Correct. Absolutely. And Renee, if I have to say, that the Buddha was quite adamant. Please do not fall into nihilism. Do not fall into the trap that nothing exists. And do not fall into eternalism, that things truly exist. And Buddhism is called the middle way because of that. The middle way between nihilism and eternalism. Yes, things exist, but not in the way that we think they do. Okay? Not in the way that we think they do. In the Yoga Sutra, which is the, 7,000-year-old text by Master Patanjali, I mean, it's ridiculous. How can a teaching last for that long? I don't know of any book that's older than the Yoga Sutra, right? They say that, the Bible's old. The Yoga Sutra is like 6,000, and that could be a commentary on another teaching that was 6,000 years before that. And Master Patanjali, if you study that, he talks about shunyata, that everything is empty. Shunyata is empty. And the opening line of the Yoga Sutra says, Yogas Chitti Vritti Nirodha, Sanskrit, which means vritti. Vritti is to turn. It comes into English as to vert, to pervert, to twist. Okay, perverted mind, twisted mind. Vritti, pervert. Yogas Chitti, Chitti's mind. Vritti Nirodha. We take reality, the human mind takes reality, and it twists it, it perverts it from ego. And then we don't see reality for what it is because we are constantly perverting reality. Does that make sense? So therefore we are not seeing things as they are. We are twisting it. And Master Patanjali said that 6,000 years ago. And this is what it is. This is what Buddhism is saying. Okay. So put that in your sock and smoke it until next Monday. We're going to end off with a little dedication prayer. I love this topic so much, and I'm really sorry if it's starting to freak you out, because I'm actually not allowed to teach this topic. I'm not allowed to teach this openly, but you guys are ready, because we've been on a journey now for 11 weeks, 12 weeks, taken you by the hand, looked at the worldviews, understand karma. Only at this point can we get to this idea, and it still might freak you out, and I do apologize. And if it does, phone me, text me, let's talk about it. I don't want to leave you hanging, okay? Don't throw it away. Just put it on the back burner. Just cook it slowly, right? Just cook it. And we'll come with your questions next week. Let's debate. Let's have a good chat about it, okay? All right. Let's close this with a dedication. Imagining that Buddha of light in your heart center, radiating out, purifying your body, your mind. Your skin begins to radiate light. Your self is divine. And this light goes out to all beings with equanimity, the ones you love, the ones you don't love, and the ones you don't know. And you share your light with all of them so that they may find happiness in the causes of happiness, that they are free from suffering and the causes of suffering, that they never are separated from the highest bliss, which is without suffering, and that they may come to rest in the great equanimity, which is free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. Gewanti kewo kun tsunami she zozo she tsunami she le junwe tampa kunya toba sho. May the precious and sublime awakened mind arise in those where it has not arisen. Where it has arisen, may it never wane, but continue to expand forevermore. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace be with you all. Namaste. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to teach. It's really wonderful for me. I hope it's okay for you. We'll continue next week. Lots of love. Have a good week. Have a nice little holiday. Do some meditation. Do some studying. Look it up. check out emptiness, Google it. Google. Read up about it. Make some questions. Try and prove me wrong. Okay. I'm just mouthing what I've been taught. Okay. That's all. And a little bit of experience. Thanks everyone. Have a good evening and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Bye.